The polls say Donald Trump is underwater. If so, this is the sort of place that may decide the election. Erie, Pennsylvania.
Erie County was pivotal in the 2016 election. It's a blue county that ended up voting for Donald Trump against all odds.
This rock-solid Democrat county helped tip the state towards Trump, and with it, the presidency.
The Fox News decision desk has called Pennsylvania for Donald Trump. This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States.
Winning Pennsylvania was one of the reasons that Donald Trump won the presidency. So he really changed the dynamics here.
The question is, has Erie changed its mind once again? Has it turned its back now on President Trump in the same way that they did against the Democrats 4 years ago?
From the time he took office, Donald Trump's approval rating basically slid and then flatlined. It has never reached 50%. Meanwhile, his disapproval rating tracks in the opposite direction, a steep climb and then flatlining. But if we zoom in to the past few months, we can see that his approval rating went up in mid-March after he declared the COVID-19 state of emergency, limited European travel to the US, and launched a huge program of financial help. However, at the beginning of April, it dived again. This was when he got into rows about not wearing a face mask, trying to open up the economy against scientific advice, and bickering with state governors about who was really in charge. Then came the death of George Floyd. The president's numbers were already going down. Mr. Trump helped them further down with a series of odd decisions. For Pennsylvania Republican Party strategist Chris Nicholas, it's been exasperating watching the president mishandle the crisis.
The president sometimes, fumbles when he doesn't even need to be, playing in that game. I think his problems began when they used so much force to clear out Lafayette Square when he went to the church, the Episcopal Church, and awkwardly held up that Bible and tried to seem like he was a strong man in charge. And I think that's when some people started to, wonder, why was he trying to do this?
One of those wondering is lifelong Erie Republican Judy Nelson. She spends her days sewing face masks for the local hospital, but she can't see herself voting for Donald Trump in November.
I hate his attitude. I hate the way he treats people. I hate the way the name calling. There's no need for that. It just makes him look ignorant, and I think ignorance isn't what we need in this country. We need to bond, and that is not a bonding personality.
And it seems Judy is not alone. Mercyhurst University in Erie has been tracking voter sentiment about Trump since his inauguration, regularly polling the electorate. What they found suggests that the president may be in big trouble here.
What we found in Erie County is that voters are very positive when it comes to their evaluation of Donald Trump's handling of the economy, but they're not at all approving of the job he's been doing as president. And I think this is something that's really unusual. Normally these two things track together, but in this case they're not. I expect that if things continue the way they are, that Donald Trump probably will be experiencing some difficulties here in Erie County, given all that has happened with a pandemic, with an economic downturn, and now with widespread social unrest.
What this crisis has done is focus American voters' minds on that most intangible of political qualities, leadership, and see that it's definitely not the same thing as dominating or having the loudest voice in the room or the most cutting put-down on Twitter.
Just one example among dozens. A 75-year-old protester is pushed over by police in Buffalo, New York. He has blood coming from his ear and is now in a serious condition in hospital. President Trump tweets that the man could be an Antifa provocateur who was appearing to scan police communications in order to black out the equipment. Republican strategists are tearing their hair out as to why he should write such a thing.
I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine there's a lot of undecided voters that are waiting to hear about that from the president. in the middle of all of these other things going on. I mean, you have a national crisis of racial issues, and you have the COVID-19 crisis. So why don't you talk about that instead of some silly conspiracy theory?
So Donald Trump stands with an approval rating of 41%, way lower than where recent presidents who won a second term were at this point in the year. Barack Obama and George W. Bush were on 47%. Bill Clinton was on 53% and Ronald Reagan on 55%. Meanwhile, the two modern presidents who were on 41% at this point, Jimmy Carter and George H.W. Bush, well, of course, both of those lost the coming election. So does that mean that the Democratic Party nominee, Joe Biden, has it in the bag?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Well, many voters, like Judy Nelson, have concerns about his ability to do the job.
People don't know what to do. They don't like Trump. They're afraid of taking and voting for Biden because Biden's looks have kind of changed, that there could be maybe a medical problem. I think it all depends upon who Biden selects as his vice president as to the outcome of his election.
And if he was 20 years younger?
If he was 20 years younger, I probably would vote for Biden.
You would?
Yes.
Joe Biden also has to manage his party. There are many Democrats who want to present the electorate with a much more radical vision. As a result of the killing of George Floyd, the movement to defund or even abolish the police is gaining traction among Democrats. In places like Erie, that could cost the party votes.
We've seen over the past 4 years a slow movement of Erie County Democrats to the Republican Party. And that, to me, signals that Democrats have to be a bit more conservative, even in their rhetoric, if they want to win places like Erie County.
Summer has arrived on Lake Erie. The seasons can change here in an afternoon. The water helps distract from America's problems, at least for a while. What will have risen to the surface come November, when Erie County and America votes, and when the cold returns to the lake?